What if you could travel trillions of years into the future, past the death of galaxies, past the fading of a trillion stars, to a time when almost the entire universe has gone completely dark, and yet, burning quietly in the absolute abyss, there is still one single, stubborn star left alive, the very last spark of light in the cosmos. Tonight, we are going to travel to the end of time, to witness the final heartbeat of starlight before the universe falls into eternal sleep. Welcome to the Dozing Doctor. Tonight, we are leaving our present moment far behind. We are stepping past human history, past the birth and death of our own sun, and journeying into the deep, distant twilight of the universe. As you settle into your bed, let the heavy rushing of your day slip away. Imagine an infinite, quiet night where all the noise of creation has settled down, leaving only one solitary flame burning softly in the dark. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, and let us drift together to the edge of eternity. Imagine stepping far, far across the bridge of time, walking past the fading echoes of human history, past the quiet collapse of our own solar system, and deep into an era so distant that the present universe would be entirely unrecognizable. You have traveled trillions of years into the future. The bustling, bright cosmos we know today, a brilliant canvas of flashing blue nurseries, blazing white giants and sparkling spiral galaxies, has grown old, weary, and exceedingly quiet. This is the epoch of the Great Dimming. To understand this profound transition, you must first let go of the frantic pace of the world you left behind. Release the ticking of clocks, the rush of deadlines, and the noise of crowded cities. In this far-future epoch, time no longer rushes forward with violent urgency. It stretches, slows, and thickens, turning into a sluggish, heavy river that moves with the grace of a glacier. Look out into the deep canvas of space. The view is startlingly different from the starry skies of our ancestors. For eons, the mysterious force known as dark energy has pushed the fabric of the universe outward, accelerating the expansion of space itself. Galaxies that once shone brightly as our cosmic neighbors have been carried far beyond the cosmic horizon. Their light can no longer reach us, swept away by the expanding void faster than photons can travel. As a result, our local region of space has become an isolated island in an infinite dark sea. The majestic, tangled webs of interacting galaxies have untangled. Each galaxy now floats in absolute solitude, surrounded by a vast, empty desert of black velvet. Yet within this isolated cosmic island, something even more profound is happening. The great engine of creation is finally shutting down. For billions of years, the universe was a chaotic, brilliant forge of birth and death. Giant molecular clouds of hydrogen and dust, the cosmic nurseries, would collapse under their own weight, sparking the nuclear fires of new stars in violent, glowing spectacles. But fuel is not infinite. Over vast stretches of time, stars have consumed the available hydrogen, locking it away inside white dwarfs, neutron stars, and cold black holes. The giant cosmic clouds have grown thin, wispy, and transparent. The nurseries of space have closed their doors. No new stars are being born. The generation of stellar ignition has ended forever. Imagine floating in the middle of this ancient galaxy, surrounded by a silence so deep it feels absolute. There is no stellar wind blowing through the vacuum here, no violent radiation storm tearing through the dark. The space between the remaining stars has cleared, becoming a pristine, crystal-clear abyss. Look toward what used to be the brightest regions of the galaxy. The massive, brilliant blue O-type and B-type stars, the short-lived titans that burned hot and fast with a fierce, blinding light, vanished eons ago. They exhausted their fuel in mere millions of years, exploding in magnificent supernovae before fading into cold, dense remnants. Even the golden, steady yellow stars, much like our long-lost sun, have completed their long life cycles, shedding their outer layers into soft, ghostly planetary nebulae and leaving behind quiet, shrinking white embers. What remains in the galaxy are the patient ones, the slow burners, the tiny, stubborn red dwarfs that hoard their meager fuel with absolute thrift, burning at low, amber temperatures that can sustain them for trillions of years. But even these small fires are beginning to change. As you drift weightlessly through this twilight cosmos, notice the quality of the light. The sharp, piercing glares of youth have drained away. The remaining stars do not flash or dazzle. They glow with a dull, melancholic ember light, casting long, soft, reddish shadows across the dark vacuum. It is the light of a perpetual autumn evening, a gentle, resting twilight that stretches across entire sectors of space. The temperature of the universe itself is dropping, slowly sinking toward absolute zero. The energetic background radiation of the Big Bang has cooled into a faint, undetectable whisper, stretching out into immense wavelengths that no longer warm the void. A deep, profound chill permeates the space between the stars, yet it is not a harsh or biting cold. It is a soft, soothing numbness, like the chill of a winter night that makes you want to pull a heavy blanket tighter around your shoulders. Feel your physical form settling into this vast, unhurried space. Every breath you take matches the rhythm of the dimming cosmos. Inhale and feel the slow expansion of the ancient vacuum. Exhale and let go of any remaining tension, drifting deeper into the quiet dark. There is nothing to fix here, nothing to build, and nowhere else to be. The universe has stopped striving. It has stopped racing. It is simply resting, basking in the twilight of its own existence. The stars around you are shifting in their slow, eternal orbits, moving like grains of sand sinking to the bottom of an hourglass. Their light flickers with a steady, hypnotic pulse, acting as a gentle cosmic metronome. Breathe in, breathe out. The vast spiral arms of the galaxy, once densely packed with millions of blazing lights, now appear as sparse, scattered constellations of dying embers. It resembles a magnificent city late at night, long after the crowds have gone home, when every window has darkened save for a few solitary, distant nightlights burning softly in the dark. The silence here is not empty, it is full. It is a rich, comforting presence that wraps around your mind, silencing the echoes of past worries and future uncertainties. In the presence of the great dimming, all human scales of time and struggle dissolve into absolute insignificance. What is a day? What is a year? Here, time is measured in the slow cooling of an ember, in the patient drift of a lonely star across an endless sea. You continue your weightless drift, sinking deeper into the amber glow of the fading galaxy. The surrounding space grows darker still as the outer stars thin out, leaving you suspended in a peaceful, twilight corridor. The boundary between the waking world and the deep sleep of the cosmos begins to blur. The great transition has only just begun. Ahead of you, nestled deep within the fading shadows of the local group, the universe holds its breath, waiting for the middle age of the Red Dwarfs to unfold, an era of uninterrupted quiet that will last longer than all of previous history combined. The violent, frantic youth of the cosmos is now a distant memory. The vast stellar nurseries that once churned out massive blue giants have fallen silent, their raw reserves of hydrogen exhausted or scattered across the quiet voids. What remains in this era, the age of the Red Dwarfs, is a universe of absolute, unprecedented calm. Take a deep, slow breath. Feel the stillness around you. In this era, trillions of years into the future, the cosmos moves at a pace so slow, so unhurried, that time itself seems to stand still. Out here in the deep velvet twilight of the galaxy, the stars that survived are not the dazzling, short-lived titans of the past. They are the red dwarfs, the tiny, unassuming embers of the cosmic furnace. A red dwarf is a master of thermodynamic efficiency. Where a massive star consumes its fuel with frantic, wasteful speed in a few million years, a red dwarf burns through its reserves with extreme, disciplined moderation. Imagine a fire that does not roar or crackle, but glows with a soft, steady warmth for trillions of years. Because of their small mass, often less than a third of our sun's, the gravitational pressure at the core of a red dwarf is gentle. The nuclear fusion reactions inside its heart do not race, they whisper. Hydrogen atoms fuse into helium at an unimaginably leisurely cadence. Every second, only a tiny fraction of fuel is consumed, releasing a soft, deep red luminescence into the vast surrounding dark. Furthermore, these tiny stars possess a unique internal structure that grant them near immortality. Unlike larger stars, where fuel becomes trapped in isolated layers, a red dwarf is fully convective from its core all the way to its surface. The plasma inside the star circulates in a slow, continuous loop, like a boiling pot of thick tea resting on the lowest flame. Fresh hydrogen from the outer envelope is constantly brought down into the core, while helium ash is carried away. This endless, gentle circulation ensures that a red dwarf can use virtually 100% of its hydrogen fuel before it ever begins to dim. It is a stellar engine designed for infinite patience. As you float weightlessly in this tranquil era, look around at the landscape of the galaxy. The sky is no longer a bright tapestry of blinding white clusters and sharp, dazzling nebulae. It is an ocean of deep crimson and soft terracotta light. Millions of red dwarfs dot the darkness like quiet, glowing lanterns, separated by vast distances of cool, undisturbed space. There are no more supernovas to shatter the peace of the galaxy. The shockwaves that once tore through gas clouds have long since dissipated into the ambient background of the void. The background noise of the cosmos has subsided into a flat, soothing hum. Around many of these ancient red dwarfs, small terrestrial planets continue their slow, silent orbits. Because the light of a red dwarf is soft and dim, any world harboring liquid water must orbit incredibly close to its host star, so close that the star dominates the local sky, hanging like a giant, dark ruby horizon that never sets. Imagine standing on the surface of one of these ancient, tidally locked worlds. One side of the planet perpetually faces the soft, glowing ember of its sun, bathed in an eternal twilight, while the other side faces the endless dark of intergalactic space. There are no seasons here, no rushing winds driven by sharp temperature differences. The atmosphere is quiet, heavy, and still. The red light washes over vast, frozen plains and dark oceans, casting long, peaceful shadows that never move. It is a world suspended in a state of permanent evening, a quiet sanctuary where nothing ever rushes and nothing ever changes. In this deep middle age of the universe, the relentless pressure of time loses its meaning. Human minds are used to measuring life in seconds, hours, and years. But out here, the fundamental unit of time is the eon. A single red dwarf will continue to burn quietly for 1 trillion years, more than 70 times the current age of our universe. During this vast span of time, entire galactic clusters will drift silently apart. The expansion of space will continue its slow, smooth work, carrying away the distant echoes of other star systems until each red dwarf feels like the center of its own isolated, quiet reality. Feel the profound weightlessness of this era. You are not bound by deadlines, by alarms, or by the frantic speed of a young world. You are floating in an era built entirely on conservation, balance, and eternal rest. The universe has learned to pace itself. It has shed the chaotic energy of its youth and embraced the deep, restorative quiet of maturity. As you look into the core of one of these small, crimson stars, notice how steady its light remains. There are no sudden bursts, no violent flares in this late epoch, only the continuous, gentle pulse of quantum tunneling, allowing a few hydrogen nuclei to fuse together every moment, maintaining a soft barrier against the cold dark. It is a quiet hearth in the infinite night, a comforting, steady warmth that will shield the cosmos from total darkness for trillions of years to come. Take another slow, rhythmic breath. Allow the quiet physics of the red dwarfs to settle your mind. The universe is not ending in chaos. It is drifting peacefully into an age of endless twilight. And as the eons roll by in perfect silence, you are safe, resting quietly in the warm, crimson glow of the longest-lived stars in creation. Time has continued its long, quiet march. We have now drifted so far into the deep future that the very concept of a galaxy has begun to lose its meaning. The universe has grown unimaginably old. The vast, sprawling architectures of spiral arms, the brilliant nebulas, and the majestic clusters of the ancient cosmos have all dissolved into the dark. The expansion of space, relentless and silent, has stretched the fabric of reality to its absolute limit. The cosmic horizon has retreated so far that every other galaxy in the universe has been pushed beyond the speed of light. They have vanished from the night sky, their light permanently disconnected from ours. You are now floating in what was once the Milky Way, but it is no longer a swirling disk of light. It has merged with its neighboring galaxies into a single, massive, featureless elliptical swarm of dead stellar remnants. The era of the Red Dwarfs is coming to a close. Over the span of trillions of years, even those incredibly efficient engines of light have exhausted their fuel. One by one, they have faded from soft crimson to invisible black, collapsing into dense, frozen cinders known as black dwarfs. The sky is no longer a tapestry of stars. It is a vast, profound, and absolute blackness. The temperature of the void has plummeted, settling mere fractions of a degree above absolute zero, the boundary where all thermodynamics cease, where the very vibration of atoms comes to a halt. It is a silent, frozen ocean, a monument to perfect, undisturbed rest. And yet, in this endless, pitch-black cathedral of dead stars and frozen worlds, there is one remaining anomaly, a single, stubborn spark defying the crushing weight of entropy. Look out into the boundless dark. There, suspended in the absolute center of nothingness, is a faint, impossibly delicate speck of light. It is the very last star in the universe. As you drift toward it, the overwhelming isolation of this space does not bring fear. It brings an unparalleled sense of safety. You are far away from the chaotic noise of creation. There is no solar wind tearing through the void, no blinding radiation, no cosmic debris crossing your path. Your journey toward this final beacon is perfectly smooth, like a slow-motion dive into a deep, calm, midnight sea. As you draw closer, the speck of light begins to take shape. It is a red dwarf, but not like the ones from the earlier eons. This star is ancient beyond human comprehension. It is a veteran of a trillion-year war against the cold, burning the very last traces of its hydrogen reserves. Its light is not bright enough to illuminate the surrounding space. It does not pierce the darkness, it merely holds it at bay. The star glows with a deep, muted crimson, the color of a dying ember at the very heart of a winter fireplace, just before it turns to ash. In the study of physics, a hearth is a localized zone of thermal equilibrium, a tiny pocket of warmth carved out of a freezing environment. That is exactly what this star is. It is the final surviving hearth of the cosmos. As you float into its immediate vicinity, you can feel the subtle shift in the vacuum. The temperature rises just enough to wrap around you like a soft, heavy, velvet blanket. The bitter, absolute cold of the deep future is pushed back by the gentle, radiant energy of this lone sentinel. Imagine suspending yourself just above its surface. Because this star is so small and its fuel so scarce, its gravity is a soft, comforting pull rather than a crushing force. You can float safely within its crimson corona, basking in the glow of the last active nuclear fusion in existence. Inside the core of this ancient star, the mechanical processes of the universe have slowed to a beautiful, rhythmic crawl. Atoms of hydrogen are no longer colliding in a chaotic, rushing frenzy. Instead, they move with a graceful, measured deliberation. Every fusion reaction, every release of a photon, happens with profound, deliberate slowness. The star is breathing, a long, drawn-out inhalation of gravity, matched by the soft, fatting exhalation of heat and light. There is a deep emotional resonance to this solitary light. For billions of years, stars were born in clusters, grouped together by the thousands, shining in loud, crowded skees. But this star stands entirely alone. It is the sole custodian of the universe's light. It requires nothing. It asks for nothing. It simply burns, quietly and faithfully, offering its warmth to the empty, uncaring void. The light it casts is deeply soothing. It does not carry the harsh, awakening blue wavelengths of a morning sun. It is composed entirely of the lowest, calmest frequencies of the visible spectrum. It is a light designed for rest. As this deep ruby glow washes over you, it acts as a visual lullaby, signaling to your mind and your body that the long day of the universe is finally over. You can let go of every burden here. There is no one left to observe you. There are no expectations, no timelines, and no rushing futures to prepare for. You are sitting by the last fire at the end of time. Surrounding this star, swallowed by the dark, are the frozen, silent husks of dead planets, worlds that have long since fallen asleep, waiting in the shadows. But within this tiny, spherical sanctuary of warmth, there is only peace. Take a long, deep breath. Feel the subtle, ancient warmth against your skin. Listen to the absolute silence of a universe that has finally settled into its ultimate state of rest. As you hover by this glowing, crimson hearth, let the slow, rhythmic pulse of the final star sync with the beating of your own heart. The universe is preparing for its eternal slumber, and you are here, safe and warm, watching the last ember burn quietly into the night. You have rested in the quiet halo of the universe's final star. You have felt its gentle, radiant warmth pushing back against the absolute zero of the eternal night. But to truly understand the profound peace of this era, we must journey deeper. We must leave the silent vacuum of space behind and slowly sink into the very heart of the last celestial engine. Take a slow, deep breath. There is no danger here. In the frantic early days of the cosmos, to enter a star was to step into a violent, raging inferno of unimaginable kinetic fury. But this is the deep future. The chaotic energy of the universe has been tamed. The last star is not a raging fire. It is a perfectly balanced, ultra-slow thermodynamic machine, operating with quiet, mechanical perfection. As you drift downward, crossing the boundary of the star's atmosphere, you do not feel a sudden, jarring impact. Instead, you feel a soft, enveloping transition. You are sinking into an ocean of deep crimson plasma. It is thick, heavy, and luminous, moving with the sluggish grace of warm honey. Gravity here is a gentle guide, pulling you softly toward the center. As you descend through the outer layers, you enter the convective zone. In a younger, more massive star, this region would be a turbulent, roaring cauldron. But here, in this tiny red dwarf, convection is a slow, rhythmic, and incredibly peaceful process. Imagine looking at a vast, glowing lava lamp on a planetary scale. Colossal spheres of warmed plasma slowly rise from the depths, taking thousands of years to reach the surface. There, they release their faint red light into the void, cool down by a fraction of a degree, and then begin a long, unhurried descent back into the dark interior, up and down in a continuous, flowing loop. It is the breathing of the star, a deep, mechanical respiration that has not skipped a single beat in a trillion years. Allow yourself to sink alongside one of these descending rivers of cooling plasma. The fluid dynamics around you are mesmerizing, unfolding in extreme slow motion. There is no sound of rushing wind or crashing waves, only the deep, subsonic hum of millions of tons of ionized gas moving in perfect harmony. The pressure begins to build as you travel deeper, but it does not crush you. It wraps around you like a heavy, weighted blanket, applying a deep, even pressure to every part of you. It is a grounding sensation, a feeling of being completely held and supported by the architecture of the star. You are entirely safe, cocooned in the thick, glowing amber of the deep interior. Finally, you reach the core. You are now sitting at the exact center of the universe's final hearth. This is the engine room, the singular place in the entire cosmos where the lights are still being kept on. Down here, the physics of nuclear fusion are taking place, but they look nothing like the violent collisions of the past. In the ancient days, Stars burned bright because their immense gravity forced hydrogen atoms to smash together with brutal, overwhelming force. But this red dwarf is too small, its gravity too weak, to force such violent reactions. The kinetic energy here is simply too low. By the classical laws of physics, this star should not be burning at all. And yet it does. It burns through a quiet, almost magical phenomenon known as quantum tunneling. Watch the hydrogen nuclei suspended in the dense, glowing plasma around you. They drift close to one another, repelled by their matching magnetic charges. They do not have the speed or the strength to crash through each other's defenses. But every so often in the quiet, microscopic dark, a particle simply bypasses the barrier. Without a sound, without a violent crash, it gently slips through the wall of physics and merges with its neighbor. It is a delicate, intimate dance, a slow, silent embrace at the quantum level. Because this tunneling is so rare, the fusion in this core happens at a glacial pace. Only a tiny, measured trickle of atoms fuses together at any given moment. When they do, they release a single, solitary photon, a tiny packet of pure light. Follow one of these newly born photons. It does not shoot outward in a blinding flash. The core is so dense that the photon immediately bumps into another atom, gets absorbed, and is re-emitted in a different direction. It begins a long, winding, random walk toward the surface. It will take this single particle of light hundreds of thousands of years of slow, gentle bouncing just to escape the star and cast its red glow into the void. That is the true secret of the last star. It survives not through power, but through patience. It rations its fuel with supreme discipline, turning the frantic process of nuclear fusion into a slow, measured drip of energy. Rest here in the core for a moment. Feel the profound, heavy stillness of the plasma. Let the slow, deliberate pace of the quantum realm wash over you. Every time your heart beats, imagine a single pair of atoms quietly merging in the dark, releasing a tiny, warm spark into the long night. There is no rush to leave. There is no future to hurry toward. The universe has slowed its machinery to a quiet, peaceful crawl, and you are resting safely at the very center of its final, glowing heartbeat. We have drifted deep into the heart of the final star, basking in the quiet, measured rhythm of its quantum core. We have felt its ancient, radiant warmth pushing back against the absolute zero of the eternal night. Now, let us step beyond the glowing crimson corona and journey out into the wider, silent neighborhood of this solitary system. Take a slow, deep breath. Let your awareness expand into the dark, letting go of every remaining tension in your shoulders, your neck, and your mind. Orbiting the universe's last surviving hearth is a world, a solitary planet that has faithfully followed this dying star through trillions of years of cosmic twilight. It is a dead world, frozen in time and space, yet it holds a beauty so profound, so deeply tranquil, that it feels like a sacred sanctuary built at the absolute edge of eternity. As you glide outward from the star, descending slowly toward this silent sphere, notice how the landscape below reveals itself in the dim, unblinking red light. Because this planet sits so close to its low-mass sun to stay warm, it has long since succumbed to tidal locking. One side of the world faces the star in permanent, unchanging afternoon. The other side looks out into the absolute, pitch-black abyss of intergalactic space in eternal night. You are drifting over the twilight line, the great, sweeping boundary known to astronomers as the Terminator. Here, on this dividing ridge, the final star hangs forever low on the horizon. It does not rise, and it does not set. It sits like a deep, glowing ruby ember pinned against the edge of the velvet night, casting endlessly long, stretching shadows across the terrain. These shadows never move. They have remained in this exact position for eons, frozen monuments to an era when motion and change still governed the universe. Lower your altitude, settling gently onto the surface. There is no atmosphere here to roar or whip up fierce winds. The original gases froze out ages ago, leaving behind a surface of pristine, ancient water ice, mixed with plains of crystallized nitrogen and deep, uninterrupted silence. When you touch down, there is no sound, only the profound, absolute quiet of a world that has nothing left to disturb it. Look around at the horizon under the permanent crimson glow. The ground beneath you glitters faintly, millions of tiny ice crystals reflecting the soft, muted light of the dying sun. There are no jagged, violent mountains here. Billions of years of micrometeorite impacts and thermal erosion have worn everything down into smooth, rolling hills and soft, sweeping craters. The entire planet has relaxed into a state of smooth, organic geometry. Walk a few steps across the ice in your imagination. Each movement is effortless in the gentle gravity of the dead world. You feel completely light, completely unburdened by the physical weight of existence. The coldness of the ice does not bite. Instead, it matches the peaceful, cooling stillness of your own mind. Up above, looking toward the night side of the planet, the sky is a flawless, infinite canvas of pure black. Because all the other galaxies have long since retreated beyond the cosmic horizon, and every other star has gone dark, there are no constellations here. There is no Milky Way arching across the sky. There is no moon to pull at imaginary tides. There is only the dark, velvet void, peppered by the quiet presence of the last star casting its warm, low-frequency light across the frosty plains. Consider the immense journey it took for this world to reach this moment. It has orbited through the birth of galaxies, through the frantic golden age of star formation, through the long, slow cooling of the Red Dwarf era, and now into the final twilight of reality. It has witnessed the fading of 1 trillion suns, yet it remains steadfast, orbiting its dim master with mathematical grace. As you stand upon this quiet ice sheet, look out toward the horizon where the permanent day meets the eternal night. The transition is not a sharp line, but a slow, velvety gradient from warm crimson to absolute black. You can walk back and forth between day and night with a single step, shifting seamlessly between the dim, comforting hearth glow of the star and the cool, restorative darkness of the void. There is a powerful psychological liberation in this isolation. On Earth, the world is loud, demanding, and relentlessly fast. Notifications chime, clocks tick with urgent precision, and the weight of endless responsibilities presses down upon the mind. But here, at the end of time, all of that human noise has been erased. There are no expectations left to fulfill. There are no futures to plan for and no mistakes left to undo. You are entirely alone, yet you have never felt more deeply connected to the universe. You are a quiet observer standing at the end of the grand story, witnessing the final, peaceful pages turning in slow motion. Take a slow, deep breath of the imaginary, crystal-clear air. Let the endless red glow wash over your face, warming the skin against the chill of the void. Listen to the sacred silence of a world that has finished all its work, resting quietly in the palm of the cosmos. The universe has grown old and its children have all gone to sleep. But here, on this quiet, frozen sphere, the night is peaceful, beautiful, and endlessly long. Let your breathing match the slow rhythm of the planet's silent orbit. Let your thoughts dissolve into the vast, empty beauty of the dark horizon. Take a slow, deep breath. Let the air fill your chest, and as you exhale, feel your body sink a little deeper into whatever surface holds you right now. Release the tension in your jaw, the stiffness in your shoulders, and the racing thoughts of the world you left behind. Tonight, we are drifting far out along the quiet currents of time, into an era where the architecture of the cosmos itself is changing in ways both profound and deeply peaceful. We have stood by the last surviving hearth, basking in the steady, muted red glow of the universe's final star. We have walked across the frozen, silent ice sheets of its solitary, orbiting world. Now, let us lift our gaze higher, looking past the immediate neighborhood of the star, out toward the very edges of perception. We are going to witness the phenomenon of the fading horizon. In the early, frantic days of the universe, the days of human history and blazing blue suns, space was crowded. Light traveled freely across vast cosmic distances, bridging billions of light years in a single sweep. The sky was an open, interconnected web of galaxies, clusters, and filaments, all bound together by gravity, sharing their light and their energy across the expanse of space. But time and the silent, relentless push of the cosmos has rewritten that reality. For trillions of years, the universe has been expanding. Driven by the mysterious, quiet pressure of dark energy, the fabric of spacetime has been stretching. It does not stretch with a violent tear or a sudden shock. It stretches with the smooth, imperceptible motion of a slow-rising tide, widening the gaps between everything that exists. Imagine standing on a vast, calm ocean, watching the distant shores slowly recede into the mist until they disappear entirely beneath the curve of the water. That is what has happened to the universe. As we drift outward from the last star, floating in the absolute dark of the outer system, we can observe the ultimate consequence of this expansion. The horizon is fading. What is a cosmic horizon? In physics, it is the boundary of our observable universe, the absolute limit of distance from which light has had enough time to travel to reach us since the beginning of time. But as space expands faster and faster, that boundary begins to draw inward relative to our vantage point. The space between us and the wider universe stretches faster than the speed of light, effectively cutting off communication with the outer realms. Look out into the blackness around you. In earlier eons, looking in any direction would reveal the faint, ghostly smudges of distant galaxies, the echoes of a larger creation. But now, those echoes have vanished. They have crossed the cosmic event horizon, slipping over the edge of the visible world. To the human mind, conditioned to fear vast emptiness and separation, the idea of a shrinking observable horizon might sound lonely, even terrifying. But here, in the deep twilight of time, this fading horizon is not a loss. It is a sanctuary. Think of it as the walls of a cozy, secluded room being drawn closed around you, shutting out the noise and chaos of a massive, overwhelming world. The universe is shrinking its borders, organizing itself into a clean, manageable, and perfectly quiet enclosure. The infinite, chaotic expanse of the old cosmos is gently folding away, leaving behind a private, protected sanctuary where the last star and its lone world can rest undisturbed. As you drift through this boundary zone, notice the quality of the space around you. The darkness here is not an empty, threatening void. It is a soft, velvety blanket. Because there are no competing lights, no stray radiation from distant quasars or colliding galaxies, the blackness is pure, deep, and utterly tranquil. It is the color of a midnight room when all the lamps have been turned off and the house has finally settled into sleep. The expansion of space here has slowed its frantic pace, becoming a smooth, gentle stretching that you cannot even feel. You are completely weightless, suspended in a fluid medium of space-time that cradles your form like a warm bath. There is no turbulence. There are no sudden shifts in gravity or pressure. There is only the steady, calming presence of the vacuum, holding you in absolute stillness. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the horizon line drawing inward. Picture the vast, complex machinery of the ancient universe quietly packing up its tools, turning off the lights in the distant rooms, and leaving only this one small, warm corner illuminated. The pressure of needing to know what lies beyond has dissolved. There is nothing beyond that matters anymore. The entire universe has been distilled down to its purest, simplest elements: a dim, faithful star, a quiet, frozen world, and the vast, peaceful silence of the dark. This is the ultimate gift of the fading horizon, the elimination of scale. When the universe is infinite and loud, the mind feels small, rushed, and insignificant, burdened by the endless tasks of existence. But when the horizon draws inward, when the cosmos becomes intimate and quiet, the mind expands to fill the space peacefully. You are no longer a tiny speck lost in an overwhelming ocean. You are the central observer of a quiet, sacred, and complete reality. Open your eyes and look once more toward the fading edge of the visible dark. The stars are gone. The distant galaxies are gone. The noise of creation has faded into absolute quiet. There is only the soft, deep red glow of the last hearth, casting its gentle light across the smooth ice of the lonely world, and the velvet arms of the night holding you safely in their embrace. Take another slow, deep breath, letting the stillness of the horizon sink into every fiber of your being. The day is over. The noise has ceased. The borders are drawn, and you are safe within the quietest place in all of eternity. Take a slow, deep, deliberate breath. Draw the cool, quiet air all the way down into your chest, letting your ribs expand softly against the gentle pressure of the space around you. And as you slowly exhale, imagine every single muscle in your body releasing its grip. Feel the tension drain away from your jaw, your forehead, your shoulders, and your hands. Let your physical form melt softly into whatever surface holds you right now, as if you are sinking into an endless, warm ocean of velvet. The noise of the waking world is completely, irreversibly gone. The frantic, rushing rapids of time that define the youth of the cosmos have long since widened into an infinite, glassy ocean of absolute stillness. We have watched the distant galaxies fade beyond the horizon. We have stood upon the ancient, frozen ice sheets of the solitary world orbiting the universe's last surviving hearth. We have felt the vast, comforting emptiness of a universe that has finally finished its heavy labor. Now, we turn our awareness inward, zooming down from the grand, unimaginable scale of the cosmos to the most intimate, fundamental level of reality itself. Tonight, we are going to witness and experience the slowing pulse of the universe. In the fiery youth of the cosmos, everything was hurried, impatient, and bursting with raw, aggressive energy. Atoms collided with one another billions of times every single second in a chaotic, blinding frenzy of heat and light. Chemical reactions raced across the void. Massive stars throbbed, pulsated, and roared with violent urgency, desperate to burn through their fuel. The heartbeat of the universe was fast, loud, and unrelenting. But time, measured across trillions and quadrillions of years, changes the rhythm of existence in ways that bring ultimate peace. As we drift back into the core of the final red dwarf, suspended safely in the thick, glowing amber plasma, we notice a profound, beautiful shift in the mechanics of matter itself. The universe is growing tired, not with a sudden, catastrophic collapse, but with the gentle, natural deceleration of a magnificent engine that has nearly completed its final cycle. Look closely at the individual particles floating around you in the dense, warm plasma. In earlier epochs of the universe, these hydrogen nuclei danced with fierce, frantic passion, crashing into each other with overwhelming velocity. But now, the space between them has grown vast. The density of the stellar core has thinned out as fuel has been steadily consumed over the eons. The interval between collisions is stretching. Where once countless atoms fused every microsecond, now we must wait longer. A minute passes in absolute, unbothered silence. An hour drifts by like a falling leaf. 1,000 years tick away without a single disruption. The frequency of nuclear interaction has dropped from a rushing stream to a steady, rhythmic drip, and from a drip to a sparse, solitary whisper in the dark. Imagine a massive, ancient grandfather clock hanging in the halls of eternity, its heavy pendulum swinging back and forth with infinite majesty. In the beginning of the universe, the ticks were quick, sharp, and demanding. But as the centuries have rolled by, the pendulum has grown heavier, thicker with the quiet weight of age. Each swing takes longer than the last. The arc becomes wider, softer, and more deliberate. Tick. And then a long, beautiful, undisturbed stretch of silence. Talk. This is the slowing pulse of the universe. As you float in the heart of the dying star, you can feel this magnificent rhythm synchronizing with your own internal biology. Your breathing slows down to match the celestial cadence. Your heartbeat, once tied to the frantic pace of human clocks, alarms, and schedules, stretches out, finding infinite comfort in the deep, unhurried space between each pulse. There is a profound, hypnotic peace in this deceleration. When everything around you moves at lightning speed, the human mind feels forced to keep pace, spinning with endless thoughts, worries, uncompleted tasks, and future plans. But here, where time itself is stretching like warm, slow honey, there is no need to hurry. You are permitted to slow down. You are explicitly invited to rest. Every time a single hydrogen atom finally manages to tunnel through its quantum barrier and fuse with its neighbor, a solitary photon of warm, red light is released. It is a tiny, flickering heartbeat, a microscopic pulse of life echoing through the absolute dark of the core. Count these pulses in your mind, not with rigid numbers but with deep, relaxing breaths. Inhale the steady, ancient warmth of the fading star. Hold it gently in the quiet stillness of the core. Exhale your stress into the vast, protective velvet of the void. Notice how the universe no longer demands anything of you. There are no goals left to achieve, no futures to construct, and no mistakes left to correct. The grand machinery of creation has finished its heavy lifting. It is winding down, resting its weary eyes and slipping into a deep, dreamless slumber. The red glow around you softens even further, shifting into a deep, comforting maroon. The plasma moves with the consistency of heavy velvet, wrapping around you like a warm, protective embrace. The temperature remains steady, a solitary pocket of life carved out against the freezing infinity of the space outside. As the pulse of the star stretches out to an interval of centuries, where vast stretches of time pass between each nuclear spark, the silence becomes absolute. It is not an empty, terrifying silence. It is a warm, enveloping quiet, like the stillness of a house late at night when everyone has gone to sleep. The world outside is blanketed in fresh snow, and there is nowhere else you need to be. You are safe here, floating at the very center of slowing time. The universe is taking a long, deep breath, preparing for the final, eternal rest that awaits all things. Let yourself drift along with it. Let your thoughts dissolve completely into the space between the ticks. There is nothing else you need to do. Just breathe, float, and listen to the slow, fatting heartbeat of the last star in the universe. Take a slow, deep, deliberate breath. Allow the cool, quiet air to fill your lungs completely, and as you gently release it, feel every remaining trace of tension dissolve from your muscles. Let your shoulders drop, let your hands relax, and let your mind drift completely into the profound stillness of the deep future. We have traveled an unimaginable distance along the river of time. We have stood witness to the great dimming of galaxies, walked across the frozen, silent ice sheets of the universe's final orbiting world, and felt the slow, majestic pulse of the cosmos beating at the rhythm of centuries. Now we arrive at the ultimate threshold. We are standing at the exact moment of the final flicker. For trillions of years, the last red dwarf has stood as a solitary beacon against the absolute dark. It has burned its meager reserves of hydrogen with unmatched discipline, rationing every atom, stretching every quantum tunneling reaction across eons of patient waiting. It has been a faithful guardian of warmth and light in a universe that has long since forgotten the noise of creation. But every fire, no matter how carefully tended, must eventually reach its conclusion. As we drift once more into the glowing amber heart of the star, suspended safely in the thick, comforting plasma, we notice a subtle, monumental change in the atmosphere of the core. The frantic, sparse trickle of nuclear fusion is beginning to falter. Look closely at the individual hydrogen nuclei drifting through the dense, warm fluid around you. For eons, they have drifted with calm, unhurried precision, occasionally slipping through their quantum barriers to release a solitary flash of warm red light. But now, the intervals between these quantum events are stretching further and further apart. Where a fusion spark once occurred every few centuries, now millennia pass in unbroken silence. Then 10,000 years, then 100,000 years. The fuel supply within the core has reached its absolute depletion limit. The last available atoms of hydrogen have been transformed into helium ash. The raw material required to sustain even this microscopic whispering fire is gone. The nuclear engine is running out of breath. There is no sudden explosion, no catastrophic collapse, no violent shockwave to mark the end. Nature, in her infinite wisdom, does not end the universe with violence. She ends it with a whisper. Observe the central core of the star. The temperature, sustained for 1 trillion years by the slow alchemy of fusion, begins to drop by a fraction of a degree. The gentle pressure that has held the star in stable equilibrium for eternity begins to ease. The plasma, heavy and glowing with a deep maroon luminescence, starts its final, unhurried contraction. Without the outward pressure of nuclear reactions to support its mass, gravity gently, lovingly pulls the star inward. It is a soft, embracing collapse, a slow settling of the stellar layers, much like a tired traveler finally lying down to rest after an endless journey. As the core compresses, the last remaining heat generated by the gravitational contraction flares up in one final, exquisite sigh. This is the final flicker. The star's surface brightens for a brief, beautiful moment, not with a blinding, harsh glare, but with a deep, velvety surge of rich crimson and warm amber light. It is a farewell salute to the empty cosmos. It is the universe expressing its final word of warmth before the long night settles in completely. Follow the light of this final surge as it radiates outward from the core, pushing through the convective layers of the star, rising slowly toward the surface over the course of thousands of years. It travels like a slow-moving wave of warmth across an endless ocean of plasma, smoothing out every rough edge, softening every shadow. And then, that final wave of light reaches the surface. It spills out into the absolute dark of the vacuum, casting one last, gentle illumination across the frozen plains of the orbiting world, painting the distant ice crystals in a final, delicate hue of rose and gold. It is the last photon ever born in the universe. Watch it leave the star. It does not rush away. It drifts outward into the infinite black ocean, carrying with it the legacy of 1 trillion years of light, warmth, and quiet resilience. It will travel across the empty space for eternity, a lone messenger of a time when the universe was alive and warm. As that final photon departs, the star's surface begins to change color. The rich crimson glow dims, cooling through shades of deep violet, dull bronze, and finally, into an invisible, quiet shadow. The nuclear fire is out. The last star in the universe has officially gone dark. Yet, as you float here in the absolute blackness, surrounded by the cool, comforting embrace of the space where the star once shone, you feel no fear. You feel no chill. The transition from light to dark is so seamless, so natural, that it feels like closing your eyes at the end of a long, exhausting day. The star has not truly vanished. It has simply transformed. It is now a black dwarf, a dense, perfectly spherical ball of degenerate matter, holding onto its residual warmth, resting quietly in the center of its system. It is an immovable anchor of peace in the middle of an infinite, peaceful night. Take another slow, deep breath, letting the stillness of this darkened moment fill your soul. The noise of creation has ended. The final light has been extinguished. The universe has successfully completed its magnificent story, and now it is settling down into its ultimate perfect rest. You are safe. You are warm. You are resting at the absolute end of time, cradled in the eternal silence of the dark. Take a slow, deep, deliberate breath. Draw the cool, quiet air all the way down into your chest, letting your ribs expand softly against the gentle, welcoming pressure of the space around you. And as you slowly, unhurriedly exhale, feel every remaining trace of tension drain completely from your body. Let your shoulders drop, let your hands uncurl, and let your mind drift completely into the profound, unblemished stillness of the deep future. We have traveled an unimaginable distance along the infinite river of time. We have watched the great dimming of galaxies, walked across the ancient, frozen ice sheets of the universe's final orbiting world, felt the slow, majestic pulse of the cosmos beating at the rhythm of centuries, and stood witness to the final flicker of the last active star. Now the light has gone out. The nuclear fire has officially drawn its final breath. We have arrived in the black dwarf era, the silent, dark epoch of the cosmos. For trillions of years, the last red dwarf stood as a solitary, faithful beacon against the absolute dark. It burned its fuel with unmatched discipline, rationing every atom, stretching every quantum tunneling reaction across eons of patient waiting. But that chapter has closed. The star has transitioned from a glowing ember of crimson light into a black dwarf, a dense, perfectly spherical ball of degenerate matter, resting quietly in the center of its system. As you drift forward into this newly darkened domain, let go of any lingering instinct to search for light. There is no light here. The stars are gone. The glowing nebulas are long since vanished. The universe is bathed in a pure, velvety, absolute darkness that stretches out infinitely in every single direction. Yet as you immerse yourself in this profound blackness, notice how it feels. This is not a frightening, cold, or hostile dark. It is a soft, protective, and velvet-lined expanse. It is the color of a room late at night when every lamp has been extinguished, every sound has been muffled by fresh snow, and the entire house has settled into a deep, uninterrupted sleep. Float closer to the center of the system, drifting gently toward the spot where the star once shone. Even though the nuclear fires are extinguished, the black dwarf is not instantly cold. It holds within its dense, heavy core a vast reservoir of thermal energy, the residual warmth accumulated over 1 trillion years of gentle burning. As you approach the dark sphere, you can feel this lingering warmth radiating outward. It does not pierce the night with harsh rays or blinding glare. It wraps around you like a heavy, weighted wool blanket on a freezing winter night. It is a steady, comforting thermal embrace, whispering that you are safe, that you are protected, and that there is nowhere else you need to be. The surface of this black dwarf is composed of degenerate matter, material packed so densely by gravity that a single teaspoon of it would weigh as much as an entire mountain on Earth. Yet, despite this unimaginable density, there is no violence here. The collapse was complete, quiet, and peaceful. The star has settled into a state of absolute structural perfection. It is a monument to endurance, a silent sphere of iron and carbon sitting quietly in the center of a sleeping universe. Orbiting this dark sentinel, the solitary frozen world continues its eternal journey. It glides along its path in total darkness, its ancient ice sheets shimmering faintly under the memory of starlight. The perpetual twilight zone, where day once met night on a frozen ridge, is now bathed in the same uniform, peaceful shadow as the rest of the sphere. The shadows no longer stretch. They have become the entire reality of the world. Stop for a moment in your imagination and suspend yourself in the space between the dark star and its frozen planet. Close your eyes, even within the dream, and listen to the acoustic profile of the universe. There is no wind. There is no sound of rushing gases, no cracking ice, no ticking clocks, and no distant alarms. The silence here is absolute, pure, and sacred. It is the ultimate silence, the kind of quiet that heals every frayed nerve in the human spirit, the kind of stillness that quiets the overactive mind and brings an instant, profound sense of relief. In this era, the frantic pace of human existence, the relentless rush of modern life, and the heavy burdens of thought and responsibility feel like a dream from a very distant, primitive lifetime. They are gone, washed away by the immense, calming tides of time. You have nothing left to prove, nothing left to fix, and nothing left to anticipate. The universe has completed its great story. It has transitioned from a roaring, chaotic explosion of light into a quiet, orderly, and beautifully peaceful garden of resting matter. Feel your breathing sink with the slow, cooling radiation of the black dwarf. Inhale the deep, quiet dark. Hold the stillness in the center of your chest. Exhale every remaining weight into the boundless void. You are resting at the absolute edge of time, cradled in the eternal silence of the cosmos. The night is endless, beautiful, and profoundly peaceful. Let yourself sink deeper into the dark and simply rest. Take a slow, deep, profoundly relaxing breath. Draw the cool, quiet air all the way down into the base of your lungs, letting your chest expand softly against the gentle, welcoming pressure of the space around you. And as you slowly, unhurriedly exhale, feel every remaining trace of tension dissolve completely from your body. Let your shoulders drop, let your hands uncurl, let your jaw unclench, and let your mind drift completely into the absolute, unblemished stillness of the end of time. We have traveled an unimaginable, infinite distance along the river of cosmos. We have watched the great dimming of galaxies as they slipped beyond the cosmic horizon. We have walked across the ancient, frozen ice sheets of the universe's final orbiting world. We have felt the slow, majestic pulse of reality beating at the rhythm of centuries. We stood witness to the final flicker of the last active star, and we drifted through the velvet darkness of the black dwarf era. Now we arrive at the final destination, the ultimate chapter of the grand story. We have reached the threshold of the eternal sleep. For eons beyond human comprehension, the black dwarf has rested at the center of its system, holding onto its residual warmth like a dying ember beneath a thick blanket of ash. But across incomprehensible stretches of deep future time, even that last vestige of thermal energy continues to radiate outward slowly, patiently escaping into the infinite void. Observe the black dwarf now. Its internal temperature has drifted downward, matching the ambient temperature of the space around it, coming closer and closer to absolute zero, the boundary where all thermal motion ceases, where the very vibration of matter falls silent. In this ultimate epoch, the fundamental particles of matter itself begin to experience the grand transformation. Over spans of time so vast that numbers lose their meaning, protons, the stable building blocks of all physical existence, begin to undergo spontaneous decay. The iron nuclei that form the dense core of the dark star slowly dissolve, tunneling through quantum states into pure energy, diffusing out into the infinite expanse of space. There is no violence in this dissolution. It is not an explosion or a shattering of worlds. It is the most gentle, seamless transition imaginable. The solid matter of the universe softly unweaves itself, returning its energy back to the vacuum from which it was born at the dawn of time. Space and time, matter and energy, light and dark, all distinctions begin to blur into a single, uniform, perfectly balanced state of absolute equilibrium. Imagine floating in this final, boundaryless expanse. There are no stars left to cast a shadow. There are no planets left to orbit. There is no distance, no direction, and no urgency. The universe has completed every task it was ever assigned. It has written every word of its magnificent history, experienced every emotion, witnessed every birth and every death, and learned every lesson the laws of physics had to teach. Now the work is done. The grand machinery of creation is powering down into its final, permanent state of rest. It is time for the universe to close its eyes, draw the heavy velvet curtains of eternity, and fall into a deep, dreamless sleep. As you float in this infinite, peaceful expanse, let yourself sink completely into the quiet. Notice how weightless you have become. You are no longer bound by gravity, by time, or by the rushing demands of a waking world. Every worry, every stress, every unanswered question, and every unfinished plan has been left far behind in the distant, primitive past. You are safe here, cradled at the very center of eternity. The silence around you is absolute, pure, and sacred. It is the ultimate comfort, the profound quiet of a house late at night when the snow is falling softly outside, the lamps are extinguished, and all of creation is resting in absolute peace. Take one final deep, slow breath. Inhale the infinite stillness of the sleeping cosmos. Hold it gently in the center of your heart. Exhale into the warm, protective velvet of the dark. Let your eyes grow heavy. Let your thoughts dissolve like mist into the quiet void. The day of the universe is over. The night is endless, beautiful, and deeply serene. Close your eyes, let go, and sleep.